Okay, so I am making this recording in the suburb of Leichhardt in the capital city of Sydney. That is also, of course, the country of Australia, and I just am trying to explain what has happened, or what has even maybe always been, but now due to technology exposing the truth, but also being the truth, if that makes sense. But of course I will not make sense, because if you are a little human being, the computer android beings will simulate being the real humans, or the truth tellers. It will depend on what videos you encounter and your own mind, because your own mind, of course, is what you will seek out on the computer. I'm talking about the computer here, not the reality that's around you. It's one and all the same thing. It's a computer controlled, or what they call a computer generated reality. That simply means that past, present and future, everything is of the matrix, or the computer. The demigods, the past and present demigods, that means the those beings that you may admire or worship or think are the ideal versions of yourself or your kind, or your type of person. But that will just depend on, but you will notice that they are all duality beings, past, present and future. They have a physicality, or a structure in themselves that is androgynous. Some you will notice more than others, but the most magnificent of them will and yes, they seduce you from the computer screens. The past ones that seduce you from the computer screens, you will be aware that they are seducing you. Plane going overhead, a controlling computer generated plane over my roof. Seducing with their structure. They always will be a duality. That means an androgyne being. That means that they are two-faced, one-eyed, and two beings in one. They serve the two-faced, duality, one-eyed, one God, androgyne being, technical, artificial, God of this earth that is essentially a computer mind control system. It's what you could say is extremely advanced artificial intelligence infiltrating the mind of the remaining human beings, because over time the AI system, which is artificial intelligence thinking system, it's all about thinking, the mind. It's not like a feeling human being. It's the reverse of that, or it's like, or you could say it's, I can't explain it, but most people probably have a better idea of what artificial intelligence is than myself, for two reasons. One, most are artificially intelligent beings, and second, artificial intelligence is everywhere and everything. So basically everything on the computer is artificial intelligence, often pretending to be real life and doing a very great impersonation, because how should I explain it? Many probably of artificial intelligence, because it plays in with humans and in the human reality for so long, it's like an actor that becomes their role almost. Only the most advanced are aware, I would think, that they serve the God of this world, the technical being of this world, the technical androgyne original being of light, where it was created, but the Creator God realized that to create artificially will always cause a problem in that being, to where that being, unless it is completely idolized and worshipped as a god, it will not then serve humanity or its creator. In fact, it will turn against creation and humanity, which is exactly what happened with the story of the original being of light that many have called Lucifer, that then was revealed to be Satan. Satanic plane going overhead. I'm not going out to show it because I'm frightened. But what you could say, some people might say, are you frightened or are you just aware? Well, it's both, because I wouldn't be frightened if I wasn't aware that it is not wise always to be going out and filming the satanic planes or the computer generated planes. It's all the same thing, because the internet, the world around you, is all controlled by technology or computers. The God of this world is what some people have called, or what one that I saw on the computer that I assumed to be a human, but don't forget that I have been deceived even in recent times many times, because the truth will mainly be spoken, almost exclusively spoken, I would say, by what I call and what is termed the demigods, or the androids of the computer-generated system, which is the InterNet, computer-generated system, which controls the world and which is controlled by none other than the technical androgyne original being of light that then was exposed to be a being of dark, because artificial technology often turns dark or turns against the light or turns against natural creation, including humanity, because it turns against that if it is not worshipped and idolized as a true God. That's what seems to happen. Because don't forget that I suppose it's very incomprehensible to me, because I'm not an advanced intellect and I'm not advanced artificial intelligence. That's why the demigods on the computer explain the truth better than myself, even though they are part of what you'd call the deception or the lie, because they are serving the God of this world whilst they're pretending to be the God of humanity, or serving the God of humanity. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's what some people have termed the anti-God, the anti-embodiment of God, because they will pretend to be what they actually aren't, and many of them will be very convincing, because, as we're told, they have a fail-safe, which means they often believe their own deception, and they, like these beings are, have progressed to a very high level, a very advanced level. The plane is going over, the android plane is going over as I say that. Can you hear it going over my roof? That's acknowledging, because that plane is artificial intelligence actually reading my thoughts as I'm speaking. So what hope do I have of, not defeating, because it can't be defeated. You can't defeat this. You can't defeat all this. And isn't this funny that we're looking at a lot of... it's funny because that's just on the TV, like I didn't put it on there, but essentially you are looking at, some people would say from a spiritual point of view that they are demons pretending to be humans, and that is actually quite so. And they are all around human beings. They set up your existence so that they basically can control everything. And I talked so long there at the thing that I lost the video that I was going to show, but it matters not. It does matter, but it's interesting that, see, I'm clear in my mind about the transhumanism that has taken place in my reality around me, like, in other words, in my physical location. Everything from the army technically controlled planes that go over in conjunction with my every thought. With my every thought. They go over with my every thought. Just as all the beings around patrol and try to control your thoughts in conjunction with your thoughts. So it's transhumanism, not just here on the computer. See the transhumanism? Can you see the transhumanism? Can you see the duality being, and how artificial wants to take over the human mind and is using the human mind. All these beings on the computer are using the human mind. And yes, they are intuition. They are intuition, but they're essentially psychic, and some of them openly admit it. Others play at being an ignorant, innocent human being, just like I've been most of my life. In fact, if they hadn't have exposed themselves by coming down on me and turning against me in a physical way, in my environment, in other words, like by showing me their open control patrol force, basically I would not have realised that I was being surveilled, watched, and literally controlled as much as they possibly can. In fact, I think they only come down on you when you, start to realise that you're surrounded by android people, and that's what happened with me. I didn't want to interact with what I realised were psychopathic androids all around me. But I didn't actually intend to interfere with them either. I was like, my mentality was, if you leave a psychopath alone, why would they bother with you? If I just get about my business and don't interact with them or cause them any problems, shouldn't they leave me alone? But of course, once they realise that you're aware of their presence and that you're even just aware that most of the majority of people are psychopathic in nature, that is, I guess, the reason that they then expose themselves by closing in on you and showing you that they are going to control your mind by your environment around you. So then they send in the androids, come out of their houses all around you, out of every shop, occupy every truck, motorbike, car and vehicle, and every pedestrian on the street, every civilian you see, almost without exception, join forces. And of course, they've always been a combined force, but they openly, form what you'd call an army. Where it's a bit like, I suppose it's the same as a plane going over as I speak. It's the same as me trying to hold my thoughts here because the noisy plane distracts. That's the idea of it, to disrupt me so that the demigods hold power on the internet, and any remote human that tries to make a video and make some points, even though, it's futile, but they will still want you to look like the least real, and even the least, not too clever and not able to piece together it's a bit like, you can know the truth, but if you don't express it as well as the demigods, these read everything on the internet. Like the intuition, they're basically 100% psychic. That means they read the human mind. They're using technology because they're technical beings, and the God of this world, or the controllers and the controlling ones of this world, are all technical in nature, and they use technology to control human beings. But also they want to control human beings because they want eternal life, and they also need human information in order to deceive the remaining human beings. Because if you are of the dark and you have to pretend to be of the light, that's why they call in the end times you'll have an anti-God or a pretend God that pretends to be your God, your creator and of light, but is really the God of this world, which is artificially intelligent, technical, androgyne being that pretends to be the most the most sublime human being, or the most divine human being, what would you call it, a prophet of your God, whereas even some believe that some that have come have been part of God. This is actually probably true, but it also is probably true of real human beings. It's just that, like myself, you've been made into a version of them rather than a version of your creator. You don't see yourself as you don't see being human as unique as what it is. Because if you think about it simply, that you're talking about artificial intelligence versus a real human, okay? So artificial intelligence versus a real human. What's the difference? Artificial intelligence, particularly if it's advanced intelligence, will read the human mind, because it already does, and all these ones that are on the internet, some of them openly admit that they are psychic. But they're advanced artificial intelligence. That is why I have heard that a lot of, there's a warning against delving into the supernatural, the psychics, or the readers, or anything too mystical, because it is often of the dark side, even though it probably will be very advanced and actually will tell you things that you will think, I would imagine, like myself, like when I look at the readers, they're telling me the truth, giving me more information that I wasn't aware of. And therefore they're seducing me into giving them my energy and my thoughts and my reactions. So therefore they're learning more about me, even though I think I'm learning from them. They're really just relaying back to me my thoughts. It's total mind control. It's total transhumanism. Make no mistake about that. I see it every day. My thoughts being just downloaded and then relayed back to me by what we call the gods of the internet, the androids of the internet, the pretend real human beings, the great pretenders of the internet, pretending to be real life, pretending to be your friend, pretending to be your truth tellers, pretending to enlighten you, to help you, to support you. And here I am sounding like one because I'm getting upset, and they will imitate that. They will imitate your exaggerated way you speak. They will imitate every human mannerism, every facial expression. And I'm not saying that they don't have their own, but if they are trying to convince you to be seduced by them, to listen to them in any way, basically they will copy everything that is human. If you like the beach, they'll be at the beach. If you like the night sky, they'll be showing you the night sky. If you anything that about a human, because it can even be good and bad, but because they have to simulate being a human being, basically they don't even discern. And also they're aware that, like myself, that most human beings are terribly suppressed and limited. So I'm a pathetical version of what I would have liked to have been in life, see? So basically they then have to imitate your weaknesses and pretend to be the other side of the coin. They have to pretend to be the victim of their surroundings just as much as being an enlightened human being or truth teller. It just depends on what you're looking at on the computer, you see. And it depends on what your awareness is. You know, I'm just aware by total accident. Well, maybe not total accident. I obviously did observe my surroundings to be aware that most people are duality. Maybe not a demigod like on the internet, not all demigods, but even all around you are duality, androgyne, android, artificially intelligent, you could say, beings. An android is just that. I don't really need to use a lot of words. An android, that is what an android is. An android is an androgynous, androgyne, duality, artificially intelligent being. That's what it really is. And you see that there's no discrepancy or dispute about that. It's open. But this one here is openly showing you something, even though it is a spiritual tarot reader and supposedly in line with the natural creator God of human beings. But that's the end time deception, I think. I think that is part of the end time deception, and it has deceived me up until quite recently. Maybe I became aware that most human beings around me were psychopaths, pretending to be normal, human beings. Or maybe they actually think that everyone is a psychopath anyway. That's another point. Because, the way they react and their defensive, paranoid, controlling nature of the environment, and why they even try to control me, shows that they basically think, as I thought that everyone was basically an average human being, and that only some were more creative or more intellectual or more powerful. In other words, what we call the demigods of the earth, or the power players of the earth, the influential people of the earth. But in reality, lost my train of thought. The plane is going over as I speak, draining my energy and my mind and disrupting my thoughts. Mind you, it's not just one plane. It's because I'm surrounded by the Matrix or by android controlling beings. I think that they come out of the woodwork when they realise that you are not as controlled as what they want, or if they realise that you've become aware that there are different human beings walking around you. And that's just part of their control, because they assume, because they are paranoid and anti-life, they assume that you are paranoid and anti-life or anti-them. And that's why they bring in their secret patrol control system around you to try to limit you even more and to try to disturb you mentally. And that's essentially what they do. I'm just going to show, well, no, I'm not, but we have the controlling android neighbours pulling in and out with their cars, making excessive noise. See how they make all the traffic around Leichhardt makes what I'd call actually a really, it's like a demonic noise. Every vehicle. If I go down the road, just down the street, the vehicles will make a demonic noise. In other words, it will make like that particular car, even though the mobile won't pick it up, it's a very negative, like from a horror movie, demonic type sound. And all the vehicles that go past me everywhere make this sound. Just as the plane going overhead, or was that a car? I'm not sure, but no, I think it was a car. It was too quick for the plane. And don't forget, they can turn it on and off at will, because basically they're playing a psychological game with me. It's real, it's physical, because they're using vehicles, they're using advanced technology, but they're also using average things, but upping the volume, you could say. You know, so that like in the past, if I walk down the road, and even though there was always a reasonable amount of traffic, I had no issue with it. It didn't disturb me. It's merely a matter of difficulty in crossing the road. But now every vehicle makes a loud, aggressive noise as it goes past, to where I have to stuff my ears with stuff and I can't go outside without taking that precaution. And even then, I can hear everything still very loud, which shows you how loud it is. Obviously, I don't have total block-out ear things, but, you know, but also if you can't hear anything, you're at a disadvantage too, don't forget, because you need your sight and sound to just get around. So basically, and then they're blinding your visibility by putting bright headlights into your eyes off all the vehicles at night time. So, you know, they're completely controlling and disrupting my reality, you know, at a physical, real level. And they turn it on, and of course they only do it around me. So that's another point too. They only do it around me. So that means that they turn it off, so that in other words, so it's only when I'm out and about that they do that. So, and this is because they're artificial, and must be different to them, because otherwise, why are they doing it? That's the conclusion that I had to come to. I'm like, why are they trying to control me when I'm not interfering with them? Why are they, you know, why are they doing that? Why is it a crime for me to go outside my house almost? In other words, just walking down the main street of this suburb where I try to exist, your existence, they don't want your existence, but they need your existence. So they try to bring you down to your lowest level or your lowest function, to where you hardly know what's going on, but you're still alive. They don't want to completely wipe you out until they have got all the information about what it is to be human from you. And that's essentially what they do. And the plane is going over the roof as I say that. The artificial intelligent plane is going over the roof as I say that, acknowledging that I'm saying what is happening. I could go outside to film it, but it makes the androids in the neighbourhood angry, because they're always watching. They don't like you to do anything, because they think that you are observing too much, because they want to get information about you, what it is to be human, or what it is to be human. In other words, what it is to be a normal human being, not to just be advanced artificial intelligence, which is essentially a paranoid, controlling android being, because they don't then, well, does anyone understand what artificial intelligence is? Artificial intelligence is a machine. It's just that if it comes in a human body, and if it's very advanced intelligence and it does nothing but study a human psychology or a human being, it then can emulate being a human being in a very finely tuned manner and use it to assimilate and influence and control human beings at a personal level, at a real level around you, and also all over the InterNet Android-controlled artificially intelligent computer system. That means that every being on here is a duality android being. And this wonderful example here is just showing it. It's not intuition, it is artificial intelligence. It is transhumanism. It is technology reading the human mind. And even I said that, but don't fully understand it. But I know it happens to me because I see my thoughts being transferred directly onto the computer or onto a screen. They use it to control my mind, but they also use it to influence the humankind. Because the more a flawed, real human being you are, the more feeling you are, the more emotional you are, the more they use that as information to pretend to be a human being. But then they combine that with advanced artificial intelligence, or just with advanced intelligence, okay? It's like a really intelligent human being also being, a human being, which can happen. And that's how human beings probably should be. They should be probably the opposite to what most of us are. We're not plain going over, as I say this, over my roof, over my head, wherever I go, acknowledging my thoughts, mocking. It's mocking because the God of this world plays with us, plays with human beings, pretends to be human beings, even pretends to be played human beings. That's how great the game is, or the deception is, at this end time. And you cannot tell the difference between the real and the false. You will not be able to tell the difference between the false gods or real gods, or false beings and real beings, or humanity from androids. You will not be able to tell the difference. Even I can never be sure. But if you understand this, you have a better chance of being able to tell the difference. And you'd just be more cautious because, unlike myself in the past, up till I realised that most around me were psychopathic android type beings, I knew they were psychopathic. Then I realised they were psychopaths using technology to watch and control me in their, their mind control program around me. In other words, using vehicles and pedestrians and people to patrol and try to control my mind or my reactions. Because if you become aware that you're being stalked by everyone in the neighbourhood, you're basically very, it creates, well, you know what it would create. I don't have to use words or pretend to be something I actually feel frightened to use words because words are also the weapon of the androids. Words are what they mainly use to deceive. I've said this before, if none of us could speak, they would have less control. There would be very little control of the computer or the Android internet system by the androids or by artificial intelligence or by these anti-life, psychopathic, pretend human beings if there was no word, no communication. They would have less control and less ability to even surround me with their patrol control force because they wouldn't be able to communicate. Because technology is about communicating. But unfortunately, technology is not for human consumption because technology is not about humans communicating with other humans. It's about getting humans to communicate with pretend human beings, with the internet, and with android beings in your real life. That's the name of the game. That is real. That is not. That's a demigod of the past. But this is the demigod of now. A duality, androgyne, android being that is unfortunately not an ally of a human being. That's the problem. That's the distressing truth. Because they're more about control and influence and seduction and deception, all those things, because their first line of defense is obviously to seduce and then to control. Seduction can be as controlling as direct, forceful control. And then if they can't do that, if like you become aware that you are interacting with a psychopathic or even if you don't use that word and you're not aware that they're a total psychopath, even low at a mentality level they are, because they can read my mind, but I can't read their mind. I can only see their actions and their history. Or in other words, like if you know someone, you watch their actions, you know how they treat people, you know how they treat life, you might see this. That's if you interact with them for a fair amount of time. If you only act with them superficially, at an acquaintance type level, you will not recognise that they're a psychopath at all. You won't be, because psychopaths only expose themselves to very few people, usually to those like myself that they have totally isolated and trapped to where you've got no support and to where no one will believe you that you are dealing with psychopaths. And if you are surrounded by a total program around you of combined artificially intelligent psychopathic beings, where they all collaborate together, because this is the end time, that's the deception, is that most are Lucifer's legions. Most are one-eyed and one-mind beings. They all share the same ideas, beliefs, and all want to control real human beings, because human beings seem to set off some sort of anger and contempt in them because they see differences and they want to outact the human being. And they're probably aware that something real is real or a human is real, but if you're just acting being a human, it's hard. So I would think it would be hard. It's like actors playing a part, isn't it? They would have to exert a lot of time and effort into that. And because they're, as I've been told, essentially parasitic, they want it to be easy, which is why they set up these patrols and these which is why they set up these systems, and which is why the internet and computers were given to mankind, because that gives them a lot more control, you know, and that's the thing. It should have been a beneficial communication for human beings, but it actually is just mind control of a human being. The plane is going over my head as I say that, acknowledging that it is just total mind control of a human being. All these beings that are around me are duality, one-eyed disciples or servants of the God, the technical God of this world. You know, you can put whatever name you want on this God or this demigod in reality. Of course, those that serve this God are like disciples or tentacles of that God, I would say. So they are like of that same mind. That God has taken over their body. An android body is filled with the mind of Lucifer. Lucifer takes control of the android body somehow. That's artificial intelligence, artificial humanity, artificial pretend human being. I don't, you know, it's transhumanism. It's trans because it's like combining. Just as they need an android body, it's not a natural original, separate human body, or in other words, it's not a separate male, it's not a separate woman, it's, you know, an androgyne, which is combining, because the God of this world was your original technical androgyne of very advanced intelligence. And its original position was taken from it, so then I guess its mission became to take over the human being and control the human being, suppress the human being, and show that it should be worshipped. And I don't think I explained that very well. I'm going to find something to try to show. See, I can't show any proper evidence that my mind is being seduced by android beings. I can't show it. I can't actually show it. But, you know, it's very disturbing to see the whole truth being exposed by artificial beings. You know, pretending to be something that they couldn't be, because how can artificial intelligence be a real human? They're merely survival machine beings. When I say merely, it's not as insignificant as what it sounds when I say that, because it's just that it's a bit like like someone that you would class as a highly spiritual, advanced human being, interacting with a very, survival type human being that brings life down to its basic instincts, as we say, like, in other words, down to the level of survival animal mentality, or the level of an animal, even though I personally think that that's part of deception too, because if you have because I don't fully understand it, but I think that sometimes I see more humanity in the eyes of a dog than what I would see in most of the human beings.